Man, it has been a tough day. But you know what? I think it's time for a celebration. Monster Party!
It's old man Lagowski!
Turn down that music, you're waking up the dead! Honestly, who throws a party at 2 in the afternoon?
Well, it's finally here. Halloween. Wait a minute. You know what, whatever. You're probably going to see this video in December anyway. So I thought I'd celebrate the festivities by playing a game that I've never played before. What ho, good sir! You say it's a game that you've never played? Well, yeah, as I said, I've never actually played this game before. It would be my first time playing this. Well, then you better play it and find out, Pilgrim! You never know what you're gonna miss from an unplayed game! Yeah, okay. Who the hell are you, anyway? Don't mind that, Pilgrim. I'm just another character that could have been. That doesn't even make sense! Anyway, let's delve into Monster Party for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Before I start, let's look at this cover. Well, it's a monster party, alright. Look, we got Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Medusa, the Yeti, Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors, and... Wait, did this cover predict what the alien hybrid from Alien Resurrection would look like? Huh. Here on the back is a ghost list, as in a checklist to what a monster game would need to have. Okay. Okay, class, roll call. Giant spider. Here. Pumpkin ghost.
Present.
Chameleon man. Hand creature.
Not here.
Very funny, Mr. Creature. Snake man? What's a robot master doing in this? Well, sure, it looks pretty monstrous, as far as I can tell, but will it keep its promise of monsters? Who writes this shit?
Oh man, it's really scary. Scary monster's gonna be in it. Oh man, it's scary monsters in the game.
So far, so good. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies already. Just look at that guy. All crazy looking, ready to munch on those titles. Already monsters are showing up as if they're on display in a fashion show. Spoilers, guys! I was hoping to wait for the time I'll meet the bloody onion ring. Our main hero, Mark, is walking home from a ball game. That M on his shirt kind of reminds me of something a little bit.
Oh no! Twerking!
When suddenly a bright star from the sky is seen plummeting toward him. Instead of, I don't know, worrying that a comet might end up splitting his face in half, he decides to stop and admire its beauty as this particular asteroid makes his eyes moist to the mere sight. Jeez, Mark, I didn't think you'd be so emotional about this kind of stuff. Turns out this asteroid is actually a monster. So what does Mark do to defend himself? He greets it, of course. And this horrible beast before him snarls back at him with Huh, well, I can't say I would have expected that name. The Burt Monster, well known among Sesame Street, often hangs around the monster Ernie. Hey, what's up?
Meh, nothing much. Just being a monster and stuff.
That's cool. Wanna play Nintendo at my place?
Dude, you still have Nintendo? Pfft, Sega's where it's at, bro.
You truly are a monster!
This seemingly casual conversation ultimately leads Burt to explain that he comes from another world that is in need of some help. So instead of the authorities, or maybe someone with perhaps a little bit more experience in monster destroying, he picks the first kid he runs into.
I'm looking for help. Evil monsters are out of control in my world, and I need you, little boy with a baseball bat, to help me.
Cool, alright. I wish I was that cool-minded when I was confronted by a demon birdman from outer space.
What a story, Mark. I'm so happy I have you as my best friend.
While Mark is just a kid, Burt offers his own powers and ends up fusing with him like a Super Sentai Guyver. If you don't know what I'm referencing, then I don't exactly think I know either. This ends up becoming a focal point in the game's mechanics. So let's talk a little bit about the gameplay, shall we? Mark has your basic gameplay, with only a bat to use to fight. This leaves a very limited range for him to fight, and enemies do take a bit of damage to destroy. But luckily, Mark can also bat at projectiles, sending them flying back towards enemies that have them. But even then, that can be a little iffy, as they tend to fly off randomly, and it's hard to tell what direction it'll go when you hit them. Aw, what a cheery stage introduction. Look at all the happy little blocks indoors, until we pass the creepy tree of hate. And well, things escalate a bit from there. I wasn't really ready for this. This game has more blood in it than Mortal Kombat, and that came out years before that was even a thing. The goal of the game is to find all the bosses, or monsters in this case, and destroy them. Destroy all the monsters and you get a key so you can progress to the next stage. To find the monsters, you have to venture into doors along the way, so in a sense, it's almost like a boss rush mode with a set goal in mind. It's seemingly random, but in actuality, only certain doors have the bosses in them, while others are just simply empty. But going in first try, you wouldn't even know that. In fact, some of the items are even predetermined, depending on which enemy you destroy at a certain point in the stage. But whenever you get a question mark, it could be either health, a lot of health, or just points, which don't matter. Okay, remember when I said that Mark could fuse with Burt? Well, that can be done once you find an item that is a pill. Kids, winners don't use drugs. But it's okay if you're dealing with the forces of evil. Once you're on the pill, you're a lot more powerful and can shoot photon lasers. Manual's term, not mine. And repeatedly pressing the jump button will help you fly. This is especially helpful for when you're fighting against bosses, and I would even go so far to say it's essential. But it is limited, and once you start blinking, you know you're ready to transform back into helpless little Mark with a baseball bat again. Later in the game, Burt's form becomes a bit more powerful and pinker, so his form becomes even more essential. And pinker.
I'm Bert, and I like to frolic in the fields.
Okay, so those are the basics, but what about those monsters? Well, there's quite a plethora of intriguing monsters to battle. We have our minor enemies in the first stage, which range from a crawling eye, legs kicking upward from the ground, Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho, and oh my god, what the god! Okay, that kinda makes me not want to put my feet on the ground for a while. This game is an odd mix of both silliness and pure unwavering terror. I mean, there are some pretty creepy enemies, but they're not necessarily taken too seriously, like a man-eating plant that says, "Hello, baby," to a pumpkin-headed ghost that asks you not to hurt him. Depending on how you look at it, can be kind of creepy, but let's think of this for a moment. Here's one scenario for this. Please don't pick on me. I'm just a harmless little pumpkin. Oh, that's cute. But then there's this way to look at it.
Please don't pick on me.
Yeah. See what a subtle difference that makes? Then again, there's, "Sorry, I'm dead." Aw, such a polite corpse. It's okay, I won't hold it against you. Yeah, I don't know what to think of this anymore. Look at this. I'm fighting a giant fried shrimp and then turns into a giant onion ring and then turns into a fried stick of whatever else can be fried up. This is the terror of high cholesterol in a haunted county fair. And am I seeing this right? Are those the transportation pods from the human fly? Try to make that connection with whatever I'm fighting here. There are actually quite a few monster movie references. There are alien eggs that oddly shoot out bubbles, a cat that looks like a gremlin and shoots out little gizmos, Jason Voorhees and the Elephant Man. Get it? His head is covered, and when it's revealed, it's an elephant. Then there are references I'm not sure I got right. I mean, there's a giant caterpillar in a bed, and he says, "I'm Royce," leaps out of the bed and starts rolling around like in The Exorcist, I think? The song in the stage even kind of sounds like it's mimicking the theme. Later on, the game gets kinda cheap and tosses some pretty nasty tricks at you. And for someone who's played it for the first time, there's no indication to catch these things. You just have to be willing to either look it up or try again until you get it right. And believe me, that might take a while. Take this, for example. God, I hate door mazes. First, you have to figure out which door will lead to a boss. Then you have to maneuver around again to find the exit. Thankfully, there's only one boss you have to defeat, and it's pretty clever what they did. You have to find the evil chameleon face amongst the 4 that are scattering about over a background that's similar to their forms and colors. It's actually pretty cool looking, but it's unbalanced by the annoying NES wind and thunder noises when you're spending hours trying to get through the damn maze! For the love of God, please, make it stop! Make it stop! And while the next stage seems pretty straightforward, you have to battle 2 bosses, while fighting the third one will take away your key. There are even rooms that say come again, so you waste your time thinking you have to go back to them. But no, you just lost your key, you die, try again, don't fight the damn spider! The game even shows a lot of its Japanese roots when you start fighting against things like a Japanese ghost well, those weird one-eyed umbrellas, and there's even a moment where you fight a taiko drum zombie dance, complete with festival music. It took me a little while to figure out, but you don't actually fight them. Just stand there and wait them to finish. Nice. Yeah, it's a good little dance there. Okay, can we move on? It's interesting to note that despite a lot of Japanese lore references, it was never really released in Japan. And given the prototype version, there were going to be a lot of changes to it. Though, other than Mark's changed name to Hiroshi and the plant creature having a microphone in front of him, there really weren't a lot of big changes to know, but there was going to be a monkey on a horse boss battle where the fallen Statue of Liberty was seen in the background, a la Planet of the Apes, but it just never came to be. So, finishing up, you fight the final boss, and with the help of Bert, can be pretty easy actually. Bert gives you a present for helping him save his world, and as Mark opens it, a beautiful princess emerges. I kinda like where this reward is going, if you know what I mean. But wait! She turns into a monster and begins to attack her.
Stop, Bert, you bastard! I should have never trusted you!
But then you wake up, and it was all a dream.
Or was it?
Ready to go to your next baseball game, you open up the door, and Bert shows up.
Oh, hi, Mark.
With your baseball bat in his claws, he whispers,
Want to go again? I'll break your legs, Mark. So help me, I will.
ending your adventure.
Or is it?
Nah, really, that's it. Screen turns gray, credits roll, and we're left to wonder of the sequel that could have been.
Or would it?
This is a very weird and very amusing game, but can it really be considered scary? And that's a very dumb question, I know that.
Or how it?
Today, a game like this would obviously not really be considered scary, given the look and limitations of the music and sound. But I don't really think it was meant to be taken too seriously in the first place anyway. Tone is very important to be set at the beginning of the game, and given what we have as freaky as some things are, we still find it pretty amusing. Then we get things like a human-headed dog running across the floor and a world turning into blood and skulls. I guess that sort of change can be confusing. Could it be possible that we could have terror and amusement in the same setting? Perhaps. It's all dependent on how it's set up, and yeah, this is a silly situation that gives what it promises. We find amusement in the weirdest of things, and they don't necessarily have to make sense, and I think the game kinda encompasses that idea. In a generation, some of the most successful things have come from seemingly random concepts, like a plumber who fights mushrooms and turtles to save a princess, to a group of reptiles who battle against an army of robots with the art of ninjutsu. If it's fun and weird sounding, it can work, but again, it takes tone, and to a greater extent, competence and dedication by its source and creators. This particular game brought us a number of oddities, from references to horror movies of the time to even obscure monsters only known in other cultures, and maybe even a few creative ones of their own. And who knows what kind of ideas it could have brought to today's audience, as time has given us more monsters and urban legends to play with. It broadens the concept of what makes a monster and delves more into creativity with them, both silly and serious. For e-heroes, I consider this game to be among the category I've listed as almost heroes. It held an interesting set of ideas, characters, and probably could have landed sequels, but as a lone title, I think it holds up well enough on its own.
One last question remains. Is it a good game? It had its moments. I guess what I really wanted to do was just share a little tidbit of NES history with you. As it's been my first experience with it, I thought it was alright. Well, I certainly hope that you all had a safe and happy Halloween, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Apologies to Markiplier. The ghosts have taken over the game. You moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies.